For 5 years, I paid every bill while they let my sister live like royalty. Then my parents laughed in my face when I asked them to babysit for one night. "We're not your servants." I cut them off. But when they came crying for help, they had no idea I was about to shatter every lie they'd built. My name is Alex, and I never thought I'd be the kind of person to cut off my own parents, but after everything they put me through, I don't regret it for a second. For 5 years, I paid their bills, rent, utilities, groceries, anything they needed, I covered it. They always had an excuse. My dad had back problems that made working impossible. My mom insisted she was too old to get a job, even though she was barely in her 50s. And my sister Emily never lifted a damn finger. Emily was the golden child. She could crash her car, rack up debt, drop out of school, and still, my parents would defend her like she walked on water. "She's just finding herself," my mom would say. "She'll figure it out eventually." Meanwhile, I was the one who had to figure everything out. From the moment I turned 18, I worked my ass off to get where I am. Late nights, long hours, stress, sacrifice, you name it. And because I made something of myself, my parents treated me like their personal ATM. It started small, a little help with rent here, a bill there. Then it became monthly payments. After a while, they didn't even ask anymore, they just expected it. "Family helps family," my mom would say whenever I hesitated. "You're doing so well, sweetheart, it's not like you can't afford it." And for years I let it slide. I told myself they needed it, that I was doing the right thing, that maybe, just maybe, they'd appreciate it someday. But appreciation never came, only entitlement. The breaking point wasn't immediate. It was more like a slow realization, a pile of small betrayals that eventually crushed me. It started when I got married. My wife, Sarah, never said anything at first, but I could tell she didn't like the way my parents treated me. She saw what I refused to see, that they didn't love me so much as they loved what I could do for them. Even after our daughter was born, they never changed. I thought having a granddaughter would make them different, that they'd want to be involved, but Emily still came first. My mom would cancel visits last minute because Emily needed her for something. My dad never bothered to come at all. If I didn't make the effort, they wouldn't see my daughter at all. Then came the moment that shattered everything. I had an important work event, something I couldn't miss. Sarah had a last-minute business trip. We just needed one night of help. So I called my mom and asked if she and Dad could babysit. She laughed, actually laughed. "Oh, Alex, we're not your servants," she said. "We raised our kids already. It's not our job to take care of yours." I don't even remember what I said next. I just remember hanging up and staring at the wall, feeling like a fool. 5 years of paying their bills, covering their expenses, making sure they never had to struggle. And the one time I asked for something in return, they dismissed me like I was nothing. I wish I could say that was the end of it, but it got worse, a lot worse. I sat there for a long time, phone still in my hand, replaying the conversation in my head. Maybe I misheard her, maybe she didn't mean it like that, but deep down I knew better. The years of being used, the endless excuses, the way they put Emily on a pedestal while treating me like a walking wallet. It all made perfect sense now. Still, I needed to hear it from them directly. I needed to see them say it to my face. So I got in my car and drove straight to their house. The drive was short, but my mind was racing the entire way. I wasn't even sure what I was going to say. I wasn't the kind of person who lashed out or got into screaming matches. But I felt something bubbling up inside me, something I had pushed down for years. By the time I pulled into their driveway, my hands were shaking. I took a deep breath, got out of the car and knocked on the door. No answer. I knocked again, harder this time. Then I heard voices inside. The door opened, and there was my dad, looking surprised to see me. "Alex," he said, like I was some stranger showing up unannounced. I didn't even bother with small talk. "I just want to make sure I heard Mom correctly," I said, pushing past him into the house. "You guys can't babysit my daughter for one night, because you're not my servants?" My mom was sitting on the couch, but she didn't look at all guilty. If anything, she looked annoyed. "Alex, why are you making such a big deal out of this?" Before I could respond, I heard something from the other room, a little voice, a giggle. I turned my head toward the hallway, and that's when I saw it, Emily's kids. My parents were babysitting Emily's kids. Different? My voice was eerily calm. "Explain to me how this is different." My dad, who never had much of a spine, sighed and rubbed his temples. "Your sister had a really bad headache. She just needed a little rest." I stared at him in disbelief. "A headache," I repeated. "She has a headache, so you drop everything to watch her kids, but when the one who's been paying your bills for years, ask you to babysit for one night, suddenly you've raised your kids already?" My mom rolled her eyes, as if I was being dramatic. "Alex, it's not like that. Your sister, Emily gets everything handed to her," I snapped. "And I get used." My mom's face hardened. That's not fair. We appreciate everything you do for us. I let out a cold, humorless laugh. Really? Because it sure as hell doesn't feel like it. Emily suddenly appeared in the hallway, rubbing her eyes like she'd just woken up from a nap. Ugh, what is all this yelling? She whined. Then she saw me and groaned. Oh my God, are you seriously throwing a tantrum right now? I turned to her, my jaw clenched. You're unbelievable. She folded her arms, smirking. You act like paying a few bills makes you a saint. Maybe if you weren't so uptight, Mom and Dad wouldn't have to pick favorites. Something inside me snapped. I felt this icy clarity, like the final piece of the puzzle had clicked into place. I had spent my entire life trying to earn love and respect from people who never intended to give it to me. And now, standing in that living room, watching them babysit Emily's kids after laughing in my face, I finally saw the truth. I was done. I exhaled slowly and looked at my parent. All right, I said quietly. I get it now. Then I turned on my heel and walked straight out the door. I didn't slam it. I didn't yell. I didn't give them another second of my time. But as I drove away, my phone started buzzing, first my mom, then my dad, then Emily. I didn't answer. And that was just the beginning. I ignored every single call, let them wonder, let them stew. I wasn't going to waste another second being manipulated. By the time I got home, Sarah was already back from her trip, sitting on the couch with our daughter asleep in her arms. She looked up when I walked in and immediately knew something was wrong. What happened? She asked softly. I sat down next to her, running a hand through my hair. They were babysitting Emily's kids. Sarah stiffened. You're kidding. I shook my head. Nope. She had a headache, so of course they dropped everything to help her. But when I asked for one night, one damn night, I got laughed at. She let out a sharp breath, shaking her head in disbelief. Alex, I know this hurts, but maybe it's a good thing. Now you know for sure. She was right. I did know for sure. I wasn't just their second choice. I was their backup plan, their financial safety net. And now that I saw it clearly, I wasn't about to keep playing that role. So the next morning, I took action. The first thing I did was call my bank. I had automatic payments set up for their rent, their utilities, even their damn car insurance. That ended today. I canceled everything. Then, I sent my parents a single text. You're on your own now. Figure it out. I didn't explain. I didn't argue. I just hit send and blocked their numbers. Within the hour, the chaos began. Sarah and I were eating breakfast when my email pinged. Then my work phone rang, then Sarah's phone. I had blocked them, but they were persistent. I sighed, opening an email from Mom. Subject: Are you serious? The message was exactly what I expected. Alex, I don't know what's gotten into you, but this is ridiculous. Family supports each other. You can't just cut us off like this. We have bills to pay. Your father's health isn't great and your sister is struggling. I can't believe you'd be this selfish after everything we've done for you. I scoffed. Everything they'd done for me? What, birthing me? That was about where their support ended. Before I could even process that, Sarah's phone rang again. She checked the screen and grimaced. It's Emily. Let it go to voicemail, I muttered, but then a text popped up from her. Sarah held up the phone so I could see. Emily texted, Wow, you're actually serious? You're screwing over Mom and Dad just because you didn't get your way for one night? Grow up, Alex. I clenched my jaw. Of course Emily would twist it like that. Of course she would make me the villain. I stood up, pacing the kitchen. You know what? Let them panic. Let them scream. I don't care anymore. Sarah gave me a proud little smile. Good. They don't deserve another second of your energy. And for the first time in years, I felt free. But the drama wasn't over yet. 3 days later, I heard a knock at my front door. When I looked through the peephole, I almost laughed. It was my parents, and they were crying. I stared through the peephole for a long moment, my stomach twisting. There they were, my mother and father, standing outside my house, looking absolutely pitiful. My mother had tears streaming down her face, and my father stood beside her, rubbing his temples like this was all some massive inconvenience. A part of me almost felt bad, almost. Then I remembered every time they had used me, every bill I had covered, every sacrifice I had made while Emily sat back doing nothing, yet somehow being treated like royalty. I remembered the laughter in my mother's voice when she dismissed me like I was an idiot for even asking them to babysit. I felt a fire rise in my chest. Taking a deep breath, I unlocked the door and swung it open. The second my mother saw me, she launched into it. Alex, thank God. We've been trying to reach you. I folded my arms, leaning against the doorframe. Yeah, I noticed. My dad stepped forward, his expression a mix of exhaustion and frustration. Alex, son, we need to talk. No, you need to talk, I shot back, because I already said everything I needed to. My mother clutched at her chest like I had just stabbed her. How can you be so heartless? We're family. I let out a sharp, humorless laugh. Oh, now we're family? That's funny, because when I needed you, when I needed one night, just one, you laughed in my face. But when Emily has a headache, you roll out the red carpet for her. My mom's face twisted into an ugly frown. That's not fair. My voice rose. Not fair? My voice rose. What's not fair is me paying your bills for 5 years while Emily did absolutely nothing. What's not fair is me bending over backwards to help you only to be treated like an afterthought while she gets to be the golden child. You can sit here and cry all you want, but I see the truth now. My dad sighed heavily, shaking his head. Alex, come on. We appreciate everything you do for us. I scoffed. No, you appreciate my money, big difference. That shut them up real quick. My mom's face crumpled like she was about to start full-on sobbing. We didn't think you'd actually go through with it, she admitted, wiping at her eyes. You've always been so responsible, so good to us. We thought you'd calm down and fix this. I gritted my teeth. Fix what, Mom? The fact that you've been using me? That you've been emotionally manipulating me into paying for everything while Emily does nothing? That you take me for granted and act like she's a damn princess? My mother sniffled. We're not using you. We just relied on you a little too much. I shook my head. No, you exploited me. You guilt-tripped me into believing it was my job to take care of you. But it's not. You're grown adults. If you can't afford your own bills, that's not my problem anymore. My dad, ever the peacekeeper, rubbed his face in frustration. Look, I get it, okay? We screwed up. We screwed up. I repeated it, letting out a bitter laugh. Screwing up is forgetting to send a birthday card. This is years of manipulation. This is me realizing that the only reason you ever treated me kindly was because I was useful to you. My mother shook her head desperately. That's not true. We love you. Oh, I cut her off coldly. You love what I do for you. There's a difference. Silence. For the first time in my life, they actually seemed speechless. But then, right on cue, my mother did what she did best. She flipped the script. Her sadness morphed into anger, and suddenly I was the villain again. You're being so cruel, Alex, she snapped. Do you have any idea what you're doing to this family? We are struggling. We are barely keeping our heads above water, and instead of helping your own flesh and blood, you're throwing a tantrum over babysitting. My jaw tightened. No. I'm finally standing up for myself. You're being dramatic, she scoffed. You're cutting us off over nothing. I felt a dangerous calm settle over me. Nothing, I echoed. You think this is nothing? I took a step closer, lowering my voice. Bomb. I have spent the last 5 years keeping a roof over your head while Emily did nothing. You have drained me, financially and emotionally, and the one time I asked for something in return, you laughed in my face. You called me selfish. But now that I'm done being your ATM, suddenly you're crying outside my house. She looked away, sniffling. My dad cleared his throat awkwardly. I nodded, the realization settling in fully. That's what I thought. Mom exhaled sharply, regaining some of her usual venom. Fine, she said bitterly. If this is how you want it, then fine. But don't come crawling back when you realize how much you need us. I let out a sharp laugh. Need you? For what? Emotional abuse? Guilt trips? Bills I didn't sign up for? Yeah, I think I'll pass. Dad sighed, rubbing his face. Come on, Alex. Let's not burn bridges here. We just need a little help. I turned and gestured toward their car in my driveway. Then maybe you should go ask Emily. Oh, wait. She's never helped, has she? Silence again. They both knew I was right. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. I'm done. I mean it this time. No more money, no more favors. You figure your own lives out, just like I had to. Mom opened her mouth to argue, but I was already stepping back inside. And without another word, I shut the door in their faces. I leaned against it, my heart pounding, my breath coming in short bursts. For a second, I just stood there, listening. I could hear them murmuring, their voices frantic. My mother was sniffling, my father was sighing. Then, slowly, their footsteps retreated. I peeked through the window. They were standing by their car, arguing with each other. Then, finally, they got in and drove away. And I just stood there, letting it all sink in. For the first time in my life, I had set a boundary, a real boundary, and it felt incredible. But I had a feeling this wasn't over yet. The next morning, I woke up to my phone vibrating like crazy. At first, I thought it was just another work notification, but as soon as I unlocked my screen, I saw the flood of messages. Texts, missed calls, and even tags on Facebook. My stomach sank. I opened the first text. It was from my cousin Jenna. Holy crap, Alex, have you seen what your mom posted? My heart pounded as I clicked on the link she sent me. It took me to Facebook, to a post from my mother. The moment I started reading, my hands clenched into fists. It breaks my heart to say this, but sometimes the people you love the most turn their backs on you. My own daughter, yes, the one I raised, fed, clothed, and loved unconditionally, has abandoned her family in our time of need. After everything we've done for her, she has decided we're not good enough for her anymore. I never thought I'd see the day when my own child would treat me like a burden, like a piece of trash to be thrown away. But money changes people, I guess, and now she's left us struggling, knowing we have no one else to turn to. If only she had a heart as big as her bank account. I stared at the screen, my breath coming in sharp bursts. The comments were even worse. Wow, I can't believe your daughter would do that to you. Some kids just don't appreciate their parents anymore. It's disgusting. After all you sacrificed for her, she should be ashamed. Karma will come for her, just wait. I scrolled and scrolled, my face burning. She had completely twisted the story, painting herself as the poor, suffering mother abandoned by her selfish daughter, and of course her Facebook friends, most of them nosy church ladies and distant relatives who barely knew me, were eating it up. Then, just when I thought it couldn't get worse, I saw Emily's comment. I never wanted to say anything before, but honestly, I always knew she only cared about herself. Mom and Dad have given her everything, and this is how she repays them. Disgusting. That did it. I wasn't just angry anymore, I was livid. I grabbed my phone and dialed my mother's number. She picked up almost immediately, like she'd been waiting for my call. "Oh, so now you want to talk?" she said, her voice dripping with fake innocence. "Are you kidding me?" I snapped. "What the hell is that Facebook post, Mom? You're seriously lying to everyone and making me look like some heartless monster." She let out a long, dramatic sigh. "I don't know what you mean, sweetie. I was just sharing my feelings. Isn't that allowed?" I gritted my teeth. "You lied. You made it sound like I abandoned you for no reason when you've been using me for years." "Oh, using you?" she shot back, suddenly all venom. "I don't recall putting a gun to your head and forcing you to help your own parents. You did that all on your own. But I guess money makes people selfish. I should have known you'd turn out like this." I almost laughed at the sheer audacity of it. "You're unbelievable," I said. "I finally stand up for myself, and instead of apologizing, you run to Facebook to play the victim." "Well, I am a victim," she said, her voice trembling now, like she was trying to squeeze out some tears. "Your poor father and I are struggling while you live comfortably, completely fine with leaving us behind. It's just," she sniffed dramatically. "It's just so hard to believe my own daughter could be so cold-hearted." I clenched my jaw, gripping the phone so tightly my fingers ached. "You're struggling? Then why were you babysitting Emily's kids yesterday? She can't even watch her own kids, but she gets to live in peace while I get guilt-tripped into supporting you?" Mom hesitated, just for a second, but then she scoffed. "Emily is different. She's not as financially stable as you, and besides, she doesn't turn her back on family the way you do." That was it. That was the final straw. I let out a slow breath, forcing myself to stay calm. "You know what, Mom? Post whatever you want, say whatever you want. But I hope you realize that you just burned any chance of me ever helping you again." "Oh, honey," she said sweetly, her tone suddenly shifting. "Don't be like this. You know I love you." I let out a humorless chuckle. "No, Mom, you love control, and you just lost it." And with that, I hung up. I stared at my phone for a long moment, my blood still boiling. My notifications were still going off, messages from relatives, mutual friends, even a couple of old classmates asking me what was going on. And then an idea hit me. If she wanted to play dirty, I could play smarter. I took a deep breath, opened Facebook, and started typing. I didn't rant. I didn't insult. I just laid out the facts. How I had been paying their bills for years while my sister contributed nothing, how they had refused to help me when I needed them just once, and how they immediately turned around and did the exact thing for my sister that they claimed they weren't my servants for doing. I hit post and braced myself. The response was immediate. Messages flooded in, not just from friends, but from extended family, people I hadn't talked to in years. Some were supportive, furious on my behalf. Others were shocked, saying they had no idea what had been going on behind the scenes. A few tried to stay neutral, claiming family should stick together no matter what, but overwhelmingly the tide was against my parents. And then my sister showed up in the comments. "Wow, can't believe you'd embarrass our parents like this. So much for family." That was rich, coming from someone who had done nothing but take and take while I carried the weight of responsibility alone. I didn't respond. I didn't have to. Others jumped in, calling her out, pointing out the blatant favoritism, the hypocrisy. Then came the messages from my parents. Mom texted, "How dare you do this to us? Do you have any idea how humiliated we are?" Dad texted, "Take the post down now. This isn't how family treats each other." Oh, so now family mattered? Now they wanted to talk about respect and loyalty after years of using me like an ATM and throwing me aside when I needed the smallest favor? I didn't respond. Instead, I blocked them. Blocked my mom, blocked my dad, blocked my sister. And just like that, the weight lifted. No more guilt, no more obligation, no more being manipulated into believing that love was something I had to buy. I expected to feel sad, maybe even regretful, but as I sat in the silence of my own home, holding my daughter close, all I felt was peace. For the first time in my life, I was free. "You're right," I said, cutting her off. You're right," I said, cutting her off. "This isn't the time to be angry. It's time to be done." There was a long silence on the other end. I could hear my mom's shaky breath. "What do you mean?" "What's going on?" "I mean that I'm done." I leaned forward, the words coming out sharper than I expected. "You sold my car, didn't think twice about it, and now you're asking me to forget it? Forget that you chose Ethan over your own son? That you've made me feel like I'm nothing for years? I'm done." I could hear her trying to swallow her words. "Please, Alex, don't do this." But I was already done listening. "You should have thought about that before you decided to steal from me. You don't get to pretend like nothing happened. I've been disrespected enough, and I'm done." And with that, I hung up. The next call was from my dad. I didn't even bother answering. Instead, I sent them both a message. "I'm cutting ties with you both. I don't care what happens from here on out. You've made your choice, and I'm making mine. Goodbye." It wasn't an easy decision, but it was the right one. They weren't my family anymore. They hadn't been for a long time. A few days later, I was sitting at my kitchen table when I saw a notification on my phone. It was a news article about a local businessman, Ethan's father-in-law, being fined $10,000 for fraud and theft. It turns out my parents were involved in some shady dealings with Ethan's side of the family, and their finances were in complete shambles. The whole thing hit me like a ton of bricks. It wasn't just about the car. It was about everything they kept hidden from me. The lies, the manipulation, the way they'd taken advantage of my trust. But I wasn't going to let it ruin me anymore. I stood up, walked over to the window, and took a deep breath. I wasn't going to waste any more energy on them. I had my life back, my car back, and the ability to move on. And that's exactly what I was going to do. So, what do you all think? Was I right to cut ties with my family, or did I take it too far?